Unfortunately, he told my favorite dueling story. I'm sorry, I just absolutely love that French balloon one. It's hilarious. Anyway, moving on. Do it? Plain as well?
Second with the shot?
Yeah. There were two other duels that I want to talk about. One of which, well, not a duel per se, but both involve presidents. Now, who here knows anything about Andrew Jackson?
I think I might actually know this story. I had to do a report on him.
All right.
He's fueled on supernatural hatred.
Yes, Andrew Jackson was a being that was fueled by sheer unmitigated hatred for... Take it back. The man was crazier than a snake's armpit. And reports actually they don't agree. Andrew Jackson is reported to have been in anywhere from a couple of duels to over 100 duels. And it didn't stop him. In fact, this is not actually a duel. At one point in his presidency, a man tried to assassinate him. Popped up with two pistols, fired at him, or tried to. Both guns misfired. Andrew Jackson proceeded to go over and beat this man with his cane. The others stepped in, not to save the president's life, actually, but to save this guy's life because Jackson was just going to town on him. And after the fact, they inspected his weapons and found that both guns were in perfect working order. Yeah. So
what's the point of that story?
just that he liked to duel, basically. And,
so
and
the other thing is the inconsistencies of weapons.
Yes, and inconsistencies of weapons, which, did Judge touch on that earlier? About the dueling
A little
weapons?
bit.
Little.
The Twain story with the bird.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you touch on the fact that why dueling only went a few times? It's probably
Okay.
the way to go.
All right. So I'll get to that in just a second. The last one I want to talk about is, and this might come as a surprise to all of you. Abraham Lincoln was challenged to a duel. The man at the time couldn't shoot to save his life. So because he was the challengee, he got to choose what weapons they used. He decided that they were going to fight with broadswords. So he gets to the appointed time and place, and they square off, and it's under a tree. And if you know anything about Abraham Lincoln, he was a really tall guy. Like, he was big. He proceeded to take his broadsword and lop off a tree limb above his head. It just went thump. And again, he had never fought with a sword either, so if he really got into a fight, he probably would have lost. Fortunately, the second stepped in to say, you know what, guys, maybe this is a bad idea. Which that's actually a perfect segue into part of the dueling methods. The seconds weren't just there to fight, perhaps on behalf of whoever they were representing.
They know that.
Okay.
They know that.
So they do know that they stopped them?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Never mind. All right.
That's why the seconds argued so vigorously during the
Yeah.
balloon duel.
So why did? It's like.
So-
Sorry, I just saw black moving this way. And,
Black and
so,
grass,
the reason why very rarely a duel would end with somebody's death. You know, okay.
Primarily what we focus on is dueling with pistols. Dueling pistols were not accurate at all. They were single shot, flint or percussion cap guns that were smooth bore. Now the thing about smooth bore is this. They do not load from the breech. load your powder, your shot, your wad, everything from the end of the barrel. Because of this, what the wad did was it created a tight seal between the bullet and the barrel. And it was generally made out of cloth or paper. When the gun was fired, the wad burned away in the process of firing the bullet, which meant that the bullet was just that much smaller than the barrel itself. Which, coupled with the fact that it was a smooth bore, meant the bullet just kind of rattled around coming out the barrel, which meant these things were horribly inaccurate. A lot of the times, if it got to the point where they would fire at each other, they wouldn't even hit each other. That's why the Civil War, or not the Civil War, not the Civil War, but before that, their method of battle was everyone stands in a line, they load, they aim, they fire. Because these weapons were inaccurate. The entire point there was you're firing so much lead that someone is going to be hit. Now, at the same time, and I think Ben probably touched on this, there were times where the duel would start, but because dueling was meant to gain, for the challenger to gain satisfaction, sometimes it was just simply the fact that his opponent was willing to duel him. That he was like, you're an honorable man, we don't even have to do it. So, I think, does that cover
So,
about everything?
yeah, so I don't know if Ben touched on the fact that basically when a challenge is issued, one person gets to pick the distance at which you're firing from, okay? Now, the shorter that distance, the more barbaric the duel.
Yeah.
So, like you mentioned, it's all about honor. So if you wanted honor and satisfaction, you just wanted to prove that guy would stand up there, you could call the duel at 60 paces. The likelihood of somebody hitting you is about as likelihood as them shooting a bird on the wing with their smooth bore shot, right? So if someone said 2 paces, they were usually pretty pissed off, right? Someone was going to get hit, maybe. Even at that range, it could happen. But, so what would happen is, they'd step it off and they'd shoot. Now, if both misfired or nobody was hit, you could do it again. But you never really went past 3 times.
Yeah, any more than 3 shots was considered barbaric. Go figure, considering that you had just
Shoot at each other
taken
anyways.
3 shots at each other, so.
But, it's like Russian roulette. You've got 6 cylinders. If you make it 3 in, you should be okay.